Unturned is presented by UpdateAI.
I have feelings on playbooks and it providing guidance versus restrictive tasks and actions that you're requiring the team to take. What is your philosophy on designing a playbook to guide your team versus instruct them exactly what to do?
There's no right answer. You have to use the data.
And that's why I said, I want to know your philosophy on it, right? And like, where do you draw the lines around we're doing these things because we need to, because it's how we're going to manage and scale a business versus this is your guidance on what you could or should be considering and what to do in the instance of X or Y, because we know that this is roundabout what's going to play out.
Welcome to Unchurned, podcast of CS professionals talking about CS professionals. I am one of your hosts, Jon Johnson. We also have Kristi Faltorusso on with us. And in the background, Josh Schachter quietly wishing that his microphone worked. Kristi, how's your week been?
My week has been great. It's Monday. So, all 7 hours of my week so far have been fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I'm pretty excited about today. We have a really great guest. I would like to introduce Caitlin Wood to the group. She is the current Chief Customer Officer at ZeroFox. Caitlin, how are you doing today?
I'm great. I'm so happy to be here. Thank you guys so much for having me.
I love it. My favorite part about this podcast is that from the point that we started recording, everybody thinks we're super professional, but like the 10 minutes before we hit recording was absolute chaos. So thank you,
John.
For
do people actually think that we're very professional? Like, do we feel like we have nobody? Okay, I didn't think so.
Not a single
person. I know that
person.
the seven people that are listening, I'm pretty confident that they didn't think that we were. But I wanted to just confirm with you. Thank you for that.
Well, nobody takes longer to set up a recording or work anything than put technology executives in a room and see how long it takes them to start a Zoom.
Yeah, right.
I mean, I don't know about you guys, but the biggest miss for me in this fully remote first work world is not having IT at my disposal, right? Something doesn't work. I can't call for help and like scoot my chair back and get out of the way. Now it's like I have to go and fix things and I'm very not equipped to do that.
Well, it either makes you feel powerful or powerless, right?
Yeah.
I'm powerless at all the time. I'm very sad and stressed.
I actually planned ahead. About 20 years ago, I had a son. And he is my tech support at this point. And it has taken
so way ahead of things.
It's taken a lot of therapy to be proud of the fact that I have a son who's in college. And not feel like a grandpa. So, but that's not what we're here to talk about. Josh,
I mean, it could be.
It could be. Josh put together this great document for my call.
For the record, John, I'm just going to cut it now. I would prefer to talk about the therapy, your therapy sessions, so we can shift over if you'd like to make an audible.
Yeah.
I mean, it's usually one and the same.
Yeah. I mean, look, we all know that customer success is therapy.
There you go.
Right.
No,
Caitlin.
We need therapy. I don't know that we are therapy.
I didn't say it was good.
Okay, just checking. All right. Okay.
Well, Caitlin, I would love normally what we do in these things is kind of we talk through organization, how you kind of think about customer success. Sure. Give us like a quick little like elevator pitch. And then I want to know how much you've spent on therapy.
Yeah, sure. Okay, so how do I think about customer success is the question?
Mm-hmm.
In general? All right. I think everyone probably gives pretty much the same or similar vein of answer of this, but I think about customer success as customer experience plus customer outcomes. And as customer success professionals and our teams are here, just make sure our customers are able to maximize value and realize continuous value from our solutions.
Got it. And since you're sitting up at the top, Chief Customer Officer, what does your influence look like for the rest of your org? I'm talking all the way down. Is it director, manager, IC? Kind of walk me through like the architecture of your reporting structure.
Sure. So I've got 5 different departments that roll up under my organization. And that's, if you think about it from the beginning of the customer journey, that starts with our onboarding education. So onboarding and customer training, your traditional CSM and technical account managers, customer support, success operations, which we would get nothing done without success operations. They're responsible for all the glue. And then I also have our 24/7 managed security services. So ZeroFox is a cybersecurity SaaS platform, We sell also managed security services as a part of our platform subscription. So all of our 24/7 functions roll up under my purview as well.
Got it.
Caitlin, can I ask a quick question here? Because I'm always fascinated by the security space because you're selling insurance, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So it like proving an ROI is so tough in this space because your ROI is nothing happened.
Right.
Nothing happened. That's brilliant.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, hey, customer, did anything happen this month? No, we did it again.
Give us more money.
Yay, value. So help me understand how you work with customers to articulate the value there.
Sure. So we're in a really unique place within the cybersecurity industry. So what we do is we provide intelligent solutions around discovering and protecting digital footprints for enterprise customers. So what that really means is we are providing customers with intelligence about emerging threats. We're helping them to map their public stack service. We're protecting all of their digital assets. And then we're also helping them to disrupt attacker infrastructure or exposures that might be out there. So what's unique about this is because we're operating outside of the traditional cybersecurity perimeter, things actually do happen and we can help them take action against those things. So a phishing website gets spun up. We can actually help have that removed. We can work with customers to remove things like impersonations of their executives across social media. So those types of things are really helpful in improving ROI, but not all customers have those things happening all the time. But when they do, they need something, they need a platform to deal with it. And so you're right, there is a balance there of the insurance aspect of it versus we're taking down tens of thousands of things for some customers in a year.
Okay, Caitlin, in the services that you offer, do you guys have like internal teams of like hackers who are trying to penetrate these organizations to find and discover some of the gaps that might exist or the situations that might cause issue?
Yeah, so it's all publicly available data, which is, I think, the tough part to wrap your brain around because there's just so much out there that no one team can do this all manually. And so what we're effectively doing is we are ingesting a whole bunch of sources from the surface web, from the deep and dark web, and analyzing that information to identify potential threats to our customers. And so that's what the ZeroFox platform does. And then we have teams as part of our managed service that are reviewing all of that content and telling our customers what they actually need to know, what they need to prioritize, and then helping them deal with it.
Where does the CSM and the managed services team start and stop?
Yeah. So this has been a part of our evolution, right? We actually spent the last year totally transforming our customer engagement model. And this was at the crux of that conversation. So as we built and scaled and grew, we were growing an account management function within sales. And then we also, so guys, I talk with my hands a lot. So you're seeing a lot of
I'm Italian from New York. This is the only language I know.
Yeah, this is how I explain it. So, as we grew up in an account management function that's in sales that was responsible for our renewals, our account growth. And then we also grew up this managed services function, a traditional support function, and specialized teams that helped in the more technical aspects to help supplement our account managers. So think of like a technical account management service, right? What we found was a gap in the middle. So you have a 24/7 managed service that is by nature reactive because they are reacting to the data that our platform collects and alerts on for our customers. And then you have account managers that they're doing business reviews. They're focused on ensuring our customers are successful, but they're not platform experts, right? They're a little bit of a hybrid. And so our journey over the past year has been to create a new customer success function from 0 to 1 that takes that middle piece that our customers are really, that's what they're asking for. That's what they really are seeing value out of, and almost scales a technical account management model out, totally redoes the swim lanes between what success and sales are responsible for and helps us drive more value for our customers that way.
Caitlin, have you guys designed like a pod structure? So is it that you've got like the same account manager and CSM and services team members together, a book of business? Is it, tell me, how is it aligned? Structure. Like, how do you have these teams? Okay. So how are they working together?
So It's not a pod structure. It is based on, as a part of this, we had to redo our customer segmentation as well, right? So as you can imagine, we're trying to align right? Everyone's favorite topic.
All of the things.
All of the things. Yeah. It's like, I have a great idea. We're going to do this one thing. And then it's hundreds of waterfall changes, right? That you're managing.
It's like litter. Like you just never get rid of the next thing.
That's right. That's a great analogy. I love that. So we have a similar segmentation model pyramid structure that most organizations have, right? We have more of a scaled digital presence at the bottom of the pyramid, at the top of the pyramid. It's much more one-to-one. And that's both on the CS side and the sales side. So you'll have an account manager and a named CSM. The account manager will be responsible for account growth, and the CSM is responsible for adoption and the day-to-day management of the platform.
Do you have a pathway? I'm just curious about, I don't know if it's a CSQL or if it's a handoff or kind of what that pipeline looks like. Mm-hmm. Is that from CSM to AM, or do you have AEs? Do you have GADs? What does that look like?
Yeah, so we actually launched that this year. That was one of the things I was super excited about in the second half of this year. As we got, we took a phased approach to get into this model. And as we started to align our CSMs with customers this year, we stood up this CSQL lead pass process. And within a quarter, we were able to generate pretty significant opportunities and contribute to revenue at the end of the year. So that was a huge win.
Okay, I have a question about that, but I want to give space for Kristi because I did just kind of jump into her theme. Anything you want to follow up on, Kristi? Because I want to dig into
I took the first couple of questions, John, and now I'm curious. I want you to complete your thought. So, you got a question? Let's roll with it. Let's go.
How are you thinking about gating those processes? In the past, I've seen CSQLs get pretty unwieldy, similar to product requests, right? It's like, we'll just put it in the product update and we'll let them sort it out, right? Oftentimes CSQLs get, handed over. If the CSM is identifying it, is there verification and validation on the other side before it is confirmed as a CSQL? And then how are those identifying processes happening?
Yeah. So first and foremost, something I tell my team whenever we roll out a change is there's no chance that we got this 100% right the first go around. I think they're tired of me saying this at this point, but it's true.
Like, could you at least once get it right the first time?
The whole thing.
Just not this one.
So the way I approach these things is start with something simple and then adapt, because it's a lot easier than going in really complex and trying to unwind that, right? Yeah. So what we knew worked is we're having these conversations, we're identifying opportunities. We ran some campaigns with our CSMs to help them kind of target conversations. The initial feedback that we got was, well, the leads you're passing aren't specific enough. There's not enough detail. We need more information here. And that was from the sales side. From the CS side, it was, I can't see what's happening. I passed this great lead. What's going on? This is what I call a seam. So a seam is a gap in between teams. It's where processes fall apart. It's where customer friction happens. It's where internal friction happens. It's where something is in the middle. It's not squarely one team or another. And when you experience a seam, you experience friction. That could be with your customer. It could be internally. And that's where you typically see finger pointing, right? A lot of teams will say, I don't understand how they could do this. They completely screwed something up, right? And instead it's, we need to look at this process. This team needs to be enabled with more data. We need to update this workflow. Rarely the answer to a seam is tell this person to do something better.
Yeah.
Right?
Gosh, I love that.
Yeah. So we are in the middle of actually updating this process to, for example, remove some character limits in what our CS team can pass over to the account management team as a lead. Put in some gating on the opportunities so that there's some kind of mutual acceptance when they go and take this task and create an opportunity, and make it more standardized of how we measure inbound leads. So it's just the same process that the sales team is used to using, and they're not having to do something different that lends itself to error. So
love that.
Yeah.
Did your CSMs have?
No, John.
You
it's my
gave
turn.
me the green light. You said.
I gave you the green light for the one question, and now you're getting greedy. This is why. If you don't know how to share, I'm not going to invite you back.
Caitlin, Kristi, and I love each other.
It's my turn. It's my turn.
I can tell.
Caitlin, how
Do
are
you
we
guys need me to come
incentivizing
back
the
in here?
CS team, or are you?
No,
No,
Josh,
gosh,
don't.
please don't. No,
Nope.
please. Just stay where
You're
you
fine.
are.
Yeah. So we're incentive. Do you mean specifically for this process or overall?
Yeah, for this process specifically, like, does the team get paid at all for the qualified leads they're passing over, customer success specifically?
After they close. So we're incentivizing them for leads that actually turn into closed business.
Was there any consideration in like a partial payment on it being a qualified lead? Like, so once the sales team qualifies it, giving them a percentage, whatever would feel healthy, and then saying you get the other on the back end, just because it feels like the CS team is doing the work, like they're part of the work to bring it to the table, but when they're handing it over to the sales, they lose control, right? So is there any, did you guys have conversations on that?
Caitlin, this is what we call a question that was framed. It was framed as a question, but really it's unsolicited advice and a backseat driver. That's all. I'm interjecting on that, and now I'm getting out of the way.
No, Josh, nobody even invited you back. You're supposed to be on mute and off camera. You don't even go here. Caitlin, anyway, tell us about what you're doing.
So, Kristi, I did think about that. And the way that I chose to approach it is starting simple. So I didn't want to introduce too many variables the first time we roll this out. And
that's totally fair.
Yeah. So I think it's something we'll evaluate again in the future. And as we get good at this and figure out where the breakpoints are and where the behavior needs to change. But at the end of the day, like, I believe compensation plans should drive behavior, and they should be simple to measure and simple to implement. And if there's too many variables, especially the first time you roll something out, it's going to drive confusion in the team. So.
All right, John, now go right ahead.
I got nothing. It's fine.
Wait, you caused a whole kerfuffle.
I got distracted.
Your question.
You had a really good topic, and I enjoyed listening to our guest answer your question. I was not thinking about my next question.
Okay, Caitlin, back to you. All right.
Hey, everybody, it's Josh. I'm taking a quick break from the podcast to tell you a bit about UpdateAI. I started UpdateAI to solve two major challenges for CS teams. The first is that we save CSMs 4 to 5 hours per week with our productivity through AI. Secondly, we give leaders a window into all the conversations across each account and the entire portfolio. So we help knowledge transfer, we help increase the coverage model of your CS teams, and we help you detect emerging patterns in what your customers are telling your CSMs across all the risks, product feedback, advocacy moments, and expansion opportunities. So come check us out at www.updateai. It's completely free to sign up and trial.
So obviously you've got this underway. What's kind of the next big boulder you're tackling with the team?
Yeah. So right now it's all about maturing the model that we're in and continuing to remove friction, remove seams from the customer experience. So that looks like, hey, in the old model, we had this process that worked with this system. So like something as simple as an at-risk playbook. Right? Customer either raises their hand and says they're at risk, or we identify data in a health score that says they're at risk. Well, what does that look like in this new model? Who takes ownership of that? Who owns it? And then who's supporting characters? So we've been completely redoing our swim lanes and kind of racing matrix of all of these things. But it's maturing those playbooks. We also, over the last 6 months, implemented a new CSP that we didn't have a CSP before. And so it's adapting all these for new systems at the same time. So a lot of things that we're changing and building on top of to mature out the model.
Okay, I'm going to ask a question, and you're probably going to tell me that we're not doing it now because we're starting simple. But we know all risk isn't created equal, right? And there's different factors that drive different risks with our customers.
Yeah.
Do you take that into consideration around who owns it? Like if it's a risk that is around adoption, is it CS? If it's risk around new leadership in the organization, is the account manager like 100%?
Yeah. So we have different inputs here. And the way that we've designed our health scoring, it takes into account some of those human inputs that will never be platform data, and it weights them differently. And so we can design at-risk playbooks and processes around, depending on like where that input came from, and then store some of those automatically so they run for, if there's the specific risk indicator, this is what you do. Here's your playbook to address it. But if it's something that's like multi-pronged, or hey, the account manager flagged this business change at the same time we're seeing this user drop off, and as a result, this platform impact, then that's going to be a kind of tiger team approach instead of who owns what.
Gosh, that's good. I remembered my question. You're talking
That's
about
why
maturity.
I stopped talking.
It actually does kind of funnel into where I'm curious about it. You're talking about obviously maturity. What is, back up a little bit. You mentioned that AMs handle renewal and growth. CSMs aren't kind of handling that. How are you finding your CSM's comfort level with CSQLs, like actually talking about revenue and opportunity and understanding opportunity and tracking opportunity? For folks that maybe don't have a renewal focus or a growth focus, those CSMs don't necessarily forecast outside of risk versus, whatever that is. So I'm curious how you're empowering your CSMs who don't necessarily have that financial conversation to be comfortable to find those opportunities. I would imagine you have some rock stars and some that, still kind of need some process.
It's 100% a spectrum. The way that we approached it was basically taking in partnership with a marketing campaign and looking at what we were pushing out for marketing and saying, okay, well, how can we then leverage platform data to identify customers who would be a great fit for this campaign, and then map out sort of what are based on those indicators, what are some great discovery questions that you can ask that are about what they're trying to achieve as a business, and really lends itself well into the solutions we can provide from this campaign. So we've really backed into it from a place where they're going to be naturally more comfortable, as opposed to go sell them this thing. It was much more about like, go figure out which of your customers can benefit from this solution that will help them achieve the outcomes that they need.
I love that. That's great.
All right, Caitlin, I got to ask you a philosophical question. I'm going to say it's philosophical because
Are we getting back to therapy?
No, we still have too much time left before we have to get into therapy. And I asked it this way because it might not be something that you're doing in practice because of the way that you structured your team, but I'm interested in your thoughts because you're talking about playbooks here, and I have feelings about everything, going back to the therapy part of this. But I have feelings on playbooks and it providing guidance versus restrictive tasks and actions that you're requiring the team to take. What is your philosophy on designing a playbook to guide your team versus instruct them exactly what to do?
Yeah. So I also have a lot of thoughts on this because I have teams that operate in a managed service where they are measured to the second and they're dealing with hundreds of thousands of alerts every day and they have seconds to make a judgment, right? And in those teams, the playbook, the SOP it's life, right? Like you have to be able to measure to it. And then when you get into these complex customer scenarios, you can't take that same approach. You have to be able to create a sandbox and give them basically like fundamental truths. So, the expectation is that when you come up into a customer scenario, you come up into an escalation, like you own this. You take ownership, you're responsible. Even if you don't know the answer, you communicate. So you give them frameworks and suggest avenues that they can go down to improve those things. But the way I see those playbooks flexing is like when you're talking about a scaled CS program and it's digital first, you have to assume some consistency. And so those have to be more prescriptive. And then as you get marketed up in customer complexity, there's no chance the playbook you made for customer A is going to work for any of those 10 customers next to each other because they're all going to have so much different nuance. So I do think it's a spectrum.
So Caitlin, are you saying it depends?
It 100% depends.
If only that was the name of our podcast.
Well, I mean, come on. There's no one customer success model that fits every single company.
No, and
there's no right answer. It's you have to use the data.
And that's why I said I want to know your philosophy on it, right? Because some of these things they're not always going to translate to practice, and what you're designing here might be different than you've designed previously or what you'll design in the future. And so I'm just always curious on people's stance on it, and like, where do you draw the lines around we're doing these things because we need to, because it's how we're going to manage and scale a business, versus this is your guidance on what you could or should be considering and what to do in the instance of X or Y, because we know that this is roundabout what's going to play out.
Yeah.
And this is why I like to start in general with like, what are your, like, how do you think about customer success, especially from the top down, right? Because as you start from the top, you're right. A lot of like the general ideas behind it are true. And we're going to say the same things. It's retention, it's growth, it's satisfaction, it's opportunity. But then you start breaking it down into those 5 or 6 layers, and you start to see these vast differences. And one of the things that in doing this podcast for the last 2 years, it's been really like, I think, hopeful after hearing so many say, oh, CS is broken and customer success is this and customer success is that, and mentoring and coaching and everybody having these very, very different experiences. Yeah. And then as you break it down, almost everybody that you talk to is in a completely different industry, a completely different business. It's like, we have this title of customer success, but what you do in customer success, that's actually the segmentation that's interesting, right? And that's when you get into it. I really like the way that you broke out the idea of like a reactionary playbook where you've got to make these decisions. Okay, tab 1, do tab 2, tab 3, tab 4, I'm going to deliver. But then you get into that space of, I think you call it a sandbox, of like, let's just play around, right? And let's see what works. And I'm curious how you, is that something that you hire for when you're looking at leaders, when you're like this kind of mentality? How do you identify the type of people that are going to kind of play in your sandbox?
Yeah.
I didn't like the way that
there's like 3 things that I want to address in that question. Because there were questions throughout. And so
I'm really good at asking 10 questions and then
in one.
That's why I have to stop him and inject my own questions at some point, because he cheats and asks 10 at a time.
Yeah.
Well, so one thing I want to say before I get into hiring and how I think about hiring philosophy and role philosophy is, you also have to think about the context of when you're rolling all of these things out.
Yeah.
So in a year where we just had so much change going on, people's capacity to operate within a sandbox as opposed to operate within a playbook is different.
Yeah.
Like if I'm rolling out 20 changes at a time, I can't expect my entire team to take the right action all the time without at least an example. Right?
Yeah.
Like you can't do it all. Like they can't process all of that at the same time. So you have to communicate more than you would if it was the only change you were rolling out.
Yeah.
So I do think that's also part of it. But going into who I hire, my hiring philosophy is always attitude, aptitude, experience in that order. And so whenever I've messed with that order, I've learned this lesson. I wish I could stop learning this lesson. You know what I mean? Like every time I ignore my gut on that, something goes wrong. And so attitude, then aptitude, then experience. And I'm always looking for people that are showing me that they're really interested in the problems we're trying to solve, and that they're going to get creative and help us adapt, because we've grown so much, we've changed so much. Like it's not going to stay static. And so they have to be people that are comfortable asking questions. It's best idea wins. And so, it's a lot of culture fit and a lot of like, can you dig in on some of these topics? I also am very preferential to doers instead of talkers. Like you got to be able to get in a room and like, let's workshop through this, as opposed to just talking about it at a high level.
Oh, Caitlin, I have to. Kristi. How do you interview for a doer versus a talker?
Raising our hands for the audio club.
I had to because John, I had to indicate before you jumped in and asked something. I wanted it to be known that I had a follow-up question to your point.
Yes, Kristi, you in the front. You have a question?
Euler.
So,
Caitlin, how do you hire for this?
Yeah, a lot of it is like, give me an example of this. Talk me through actually what you did and how you got there. So I will often, one of the questions, I had a former colleague that gave me this interview question years ago. It's like one of the best interview questions ever. It's, tell me an achievement that you're in your career that you're most proud of. And then depending on the answer to that, you kind of get a sense of like, of what role and what responsibilities they had and how big they were thinking. And then once they give you that answer, I start to unpack, well, okay, walk me through how you got there. Like, what did you do? Who did you work with? Was this you? Was it like actually process wise? How did you get to that end result? And that gives me a better sense.
That's good. I mean, I think that's it. You answered all of it.
I mean,
Kristi,
probably not. No,
I know, but Josh is going to start.
Like I gave you a pause. I know Josh is going to get all fluffy in a second. Hold on, and he's going to come in here and start opening doors and shutting down microphones.
Back.
Caitlin, before we do start to work towards concluding this episode, how are you thinking about the inclusion of AI in your world right now? Now, I know. Again, you're starting simple, and you've already disrupted the universe, but I know that AI is a topic of conversation because the VCs and PE firms all across the world are mandating that as leaders, we consider this. What role is it playing in how you're architecting the team moving forward now?
Yeah, well, if you hadn't have brought up AI, what I would have said is, if I don't say AI, like, I've answered the question wrong, right? Because everybody's talking about it. So the way that we're thinking about AI is a few different capacities. So our platform, like actually how we're delivering information for our customers, we are absolutely leveraging AI today. We've used it to make our teams and services more efficient. We've used it to make information that we deliver better and more contextualized, which is awesome. So giving our customers more value there. We're using it within our productivity tools. So we're using within our tech stack the AI-powered search interface for our customers. So allowing them to get information faster. I see AI as helping us to drive more self-service options, more service, make it easier for customers to manage their platform. The thing about cybersecurity and cybersecurity SaaS is like, it's not a configure the platform and then let it run. It's continuously adapting to what threat actors are doing because they're changing all the time. So you have to keep up with it, and which can lead to configuration gaps. It can lead to, if things get out of sync, then you might miss something. And so there are a lot of practical applications for how we're going to make customer experience better with AI. We're using it today in task creation and task follow-up and those sorts of productivity tools. So kind of both internally and externally. But the thing about leveraging AI across customer success is you have to remember that every single part of an organization is responsible for customer success. Mm-hmm. Like, you can't deploy AI to customer success to make your customer experience better if you don't have great connectivity into your product team, into your marketing team, into the enablement. If your knowledge center isn't up to date, like, AI doesn't magically solve a broken foundation. It's going to put a spotlight on it. And so you've got to have all those ducks in a row and be really approaching this holistically, as opposed to just, CS is going to deploy AI, it's going to fix all the issues. Like, it's the tip of the spear, but unless you're working together as a whole organization, you're not going to get there.
That's good.
So that's my
soapbox. So now I have exhausted all of my questions, John, but I feel like if we didn't
I'm so happy
go the AI route, that we would have had a complete missed opportunity. And I won't even get into all the other questions I have, Caitlin, because now I'm like, well, what happens to your team? And do you have too many people? Because now you have AI and it's making your data more. Like, I'm not going to go there. So, John, what other questions do you have for Caitlin?
No, listen, I have a question here. My question is just, I want to go back to
Josh.
Yeah, I'm back. He's back. I want to go back to how do you identify a big talker versus an actual doer in an interview? Because that's just, oh man, if I could figure that one out. I know you gave an answer, but really, how do you do it?
Yeah, but if you could figure that out, Josh, you wouldn't have two podcasts.
I was going to say, and Josh wouldn't actually have a job. Well, that's why Josh is a CEO, because everyone figured out that he's a talker and not a doer, so he had to hire himself.
Is that a compliment?
I think that's how we end. I think that's great.
Bye, guys.
I don't know how I
Thanks,
feel about
Caitlin.
that, Kristi. No, but Caitlin, thank you so much for the time.